Dude, I just got off streaming for like 3 hours and now I have to go into this in-depth tier list. I can already tell this is gonna go terribly. I'm sorry in advance. Okay, welcome to episode 6 of Trying to Learn the Spiderweb. So today, I'm gonna try, keyword, try to give my prediction on who will place where of the people remaining. This has kind of been something I wanted to do, but I've always known this was going to go terribly. But, hey, I will say, I probably won't be like last episode. It'll probably just be funny and not unbearable. I have a couple things pulled up on the side here. I have a spreadsheet of major moves that have been included in summaries and what category they fall into. I have Discord open so I can look at like all the confessionals and like see what's happening. And I guess I don't have anything else open. I think it's just those two. Anyway, I'm going to try my absolute hardest to guess where people are gonna be ranked and probably jinx everyone in the process. May God have mercy on my soul, and let's get into this. Okay, so first off we have a car here. A car is a really interesting case. My thought is that there are going to be players that are pretty safely going to be in like this middle range, maybe like 1 or 2 up here and maybe like 3. And then there are going to be people who are either going to get eliminated very soon or are going to make a push for the win. A car is one of these people, I think. The interesting thing about a car is that he isn't brought up in vote conversations too often. From what I could find, he was only a serious option twice, but the tier list round says that a lot of people are saying a car is playing an under the radar game, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree with, which in my eyes lands him either in like the 18, 19, 20 range or like 4, 5, 6, 7. I think the closer this gets to final 10, the more active he's going to play. I think we can slot a car in as like our number 7 here. All right, Alien. Alien, I'm gonna be honest, might have a top 3 game so far. He's one of 4 players who has never been seriously mentioned in a vote. He's doing really well game-wise. He landed the president twice. Now, he wasn't able to do anything because both rounds were canceled, but the fact that he was able to land it twice in a row is pretty impressive. The question is, does it hold? He gets to Final 15 easy, I think. I think the way he's been playing and his threat management this game, I think anything worse than like 8th place is going to be a huge shock. Brandon has been brought up as a potential threat as of late. He's been handling it like pretty well, but I don't know if it holds. He hasn't made nearly as much other contribution, and in my eyes, he is both a social threat and an under the radar threat. For that reason, I don't see Brandon getting past final 20. Chan isn't... Okay, a lot of these are interesting. Chan, social genius. The contribution is there. The social game is very apparent and very good, and we are likely looking at another deep run here. For now, I'm gonna put Chan in 6 to 10 range. If I had to take a guess now, probably 9th. Charging is an extremely weird case where he's unintentionally playing an under the radar game. He's made a couple throws and he's had a lot of solid contribution. The problem is it often goes unnoticed. He's definitely going to do everything in his power to stay in, but the way things are going, I see a world in which charging places around 18th. Up next, Danny. Danny is one I'm very uncertain about. I haven't seen them much in the chat, but the results are showing he's yet to have a throw against him. Hasn't even been seriously mentioned in a vote since round 12. Recently made, I think, a pretty solid throw against someone. I'd have to double check who. That'll help his case in the short term. Now, again, I don't know much about Danny's game, but from what I've seen, it's kind of a middle of the road game, and I think that's going to lead to 11 to 15. dead inside. The main thing I took away from like doing my research on this and stuff, dead has the most number of throws made, and the only throw against him was back in round 7, which he managed very well. The big contribution is there. Is the social game there is the question. For my money, I think it's in the same boat as Danny, where he has a solid game going, but I don't know if it's gonna last. Okay, Emmy. Lots and lots and lots of non-conventional contribution. Now, Emmy was just thrown like a few minutes ago. There isn't really any talk of it, and even without a defense so far, no one's really like taking it super seriously. And it was basically a threat throw, like Emmy's in a really good spot. If we don't get her out now, this could get worse, which in my eyes means Emmy is in a really, really good spot. Like good enough to potentially get top 10 or maybe even top 5. We'll see. I think Emmy has the potential to get top 5. Jerry. First off, another one of the 4 people who has not been seriously mentioned. Has quite a bit of minor contributions through the last few rounds. Jerry's playing an under-the-radar game, and is probably going to get called out for that at some point in the near future. The late contribution is probably going to be enough to tie Jerry over for the short term, but I don't know if it lasts. Honestly, considering everything, this is probably going to be a hot take, and it'll probably be dead wrong, but I can see Jerry going out 16th. That's probably a wild take, but I haven't seen Jerry do much. They just have a lot of people on their side for right now, but as soon as people start realizing how under the radar Jerry is playing, I think it might come crumbling down. Now we have our trivia aficionado, Gray. Dude has gotten like 10 of the last 12 trivias or something like that. It's ridiculous. Actually, looking at this, I'm going to move Emmy up to 5th. So the main thing Gray has going for him is the amount of coins he has. He has 9 coins and is adding to it every day. And he's playing a pretty decent all-around game. He's covering a lot of aspects. He has the contribution. He just landed the presidency. He hasn't been mentioned in a vote since round 15. So he's playing a very solid all-around game. I can see a deep run happening. If it'll go super deep, I don't think so right now. I can very well be proven wrong. This is probably all very, very wrong by this point. But what can you do? There's a non-zero chance he gets the true snowball. I'm not gonna lie. Either the true snowball or the remaining half idol. Jason, where to start? Jason is playing very under the radar, not super social, not a lot of contribution, but hasn't been thrown since round 8. Now, he was brought up in the round 21 vote. Like, there's an amount of contribution, but it isn't super prevalent. Now, if this is me, I try to push him as hard as I can to get the under-the-radar players out. However, if that were the case, he's probably gone in like round 15. Clearly, he's doing something right. I'm still gonna put him in like 21st, but he's doing something right that I can't see, and it's clearly working. All right, I'm hungry and there's food. I'm gonna take a break and go get food. Root beer, it's not alcoholic. All right, this is already terrible enough. We're going all in. This is going to be the worst thing you have ever seen. Joe, I genuinely don't know where to place Joe. Joe's been one of the most contributive members, at least by stats, but has still had 2 recent throws against him. This is a really perplexing case. I don't think there's a deep run, but I think Joe survives at least a little bit. I don't know what the issue is with Joe's game. Maybe he's doing too much? I genuinely, don't know. It looks like, in theory, it's a solid game. The stats say that it should be like a solid game. Yes, I know stats in a social game isn't ideal, but hey, I'm a math major and I'm a stats nerd, so I have to. I'm sorry. Just the way everything's been going, I don't see a future. I don't know what the issue is. Good old caught. Interesting figure for sure. Can we get like an interesting counter in like one of the corners? I've lost count of how many times I've said it. I've been trying to avoid saying it, but I literally don't have anything else to say. Whatever caught's doing seems to be working. The social game is really solid, and I think that's that's what's keeping Caught afloat. They haven't been like super contributive. They have a couple like throws from like pretty early on. Other than that, there hasn't been like too much major contribution. So the social game is there, and I think that's what's keeping Caught afloat. I don't know if it holds. I think it gets caught like pretty deep, but not like incredibly deep. Okay, Lotus, pretty middle of the road. Nothing stands out, but nothing is like super egregious. The social game is there, and Lotus isn't gonna be seen as like a huge threat. I think based off that, I think Lotus could be a real dark horse candidate for a deep run. Like maybe even like 6th. I gotta throw my garbage ass opinions somewhere, so might as well do it here. Lucas. This is a similar case to Jason, I think. Pretty low, playing under the radar, can be contributive at points, but usually isn't, but also is staying in just enough to not have attention drawn to him because he's not doing anything, which is working out pretty well, but again brings up the question of how long this lasts. And I think it'll be in due time where a lot of these under the radar players are going to be eliminated, and Lucas is probably going to be one of the first of them to go. This group of 3 I think can be shuffled anywhere up to like 10th. My guess is that these 3 are going to be eliminated together, or very close to each other at least. Mike's. Who was it I mentioned who had like a very balanced game? I think it was Gray I was saying that about. Yeah, Gray is also playing a very solid all-around game. Mike's, I would say, has the edge up just because of like the social aspect, which could swing either way because like there might be like the social threat aspect of it. Right now, I'm gonna err on the side of Mike's does better than Gray for now. Random is just playing a great game. Amazing socially so far, and pretty solid contribution, even if she hasn't had like any throws or anything like that in a hot minute. She's doing very well on both fronts. I would think that would lead to a threat throw, but it just hasn't happened yet. It's happened for a bunch of others, but for Random, it just hasn't happened. I think I can see Random making a push for the win. Okay, Retro. So Retro is relying solely on small contribution. Has like barely any like larger contributions that make the summary. Has been brought up as a serious candidate for the vote at least 4 times. So Retro's been on and off the hot seat. He handles himself very well. He handles his game very well. It doesn't scream super good to me, but it's been working. He has the right allies, which I believe is mostly the reason he stayed in as long as he has. I do have most of these allies up here, but I don't know how long that lasts. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Retro above Dead, but Retro is definitely one of the ones I question the most. Alright, Robert. With Robert, the larger contribution has been more frequent. Apparently he's often brought up in the vote at around the same time as Retro, which might play a factor in where I put him, because I was going to put Retro like around 16 or 17, but then I realized a lot of Retro's allies I have in the top 10, and considering how often they go together, I wouldn't, in my eyes, now I could be way off here, and I definitely am way off, but Robert is basically playing the same game as Retro, but to a more like, what's the word? Accented? More amplified, I guess. Like, they definitely have differences in their game, but contribution-wise, I think Robert and Retro have, like, a similar game going, but Robert is making much larger contributions that get noticed a lot more, but at the same time, they're both getting throwed at around the same point. I think because of that, I think both of them are going to come up in the vote around 16th, which is my guess as to where Robert goes. Rocco. So Rocco has the little wheel thing going on. The way I see it, it's kind of been hurting him, but I'm also like pretty unsure. He does have the recent throw against Waffles, I think it was, but it wasn't like perceived super well. And I don't know when impact meta is going to become a thing, if it becomes a thing. I don't think Rocco gets deep. I want to say Rocco goes sooner rather than later. I'm going to go ahead and place Rocco at 20th. Sugar. Sugar is another one who's playing a similar game to Gray and Mike's in my eyes. Playing a pretty balanced game of contribution and social. More social for Sugar, I think, for sure. Sugar also has the recent call out of Joa, so that could also like work for her in the short term. I don't think it gets super far. I can see a top 15 finish for sure, which leaves the two polls: a super deep run or an early exit. And I see two here who fit this criteria very well: Teriyaki and Viridian. Both very polarizing when it comes to this, for completely different reasons. I'll start with Viridian. Viridian has been making himself known. He's become the rage baiter of the spiderweb and is making a very strong case for himself as the villain here. There has been a lot of talk about Viridian getting out because of, one, his potential threat, and two, just how much he's infuriating people. He doesn't have many allies, but people still feel like they need him, which is perfect recipe for a good villain, and is making me lean more towards putting him in the top 5 rather than the bottom 5. But this is very intriguing. I think putting Viridian as high as like 3rd here, but I would also not be shocked at all if I would not be shocked at all if he's the next boot. And then there's probably the most depressing one of them all. I think everyone and their mother wants Teriyaki to make a deep run, and I would not be surprised if a lot of the people left want Teriyaki to go all the way. He's been talking about the stress. It's really unfortunate to see. I really want to tell him, like, hey, you are in probably the best spot of anyone left. You could do nothing for like 5, maybe 10 rounds, and no one will want you out. It wasn't that long ago that Terry lost the social chain, and everyone came in. No, Terry deserves to stay in the game. But the stress is too high. If I'm trying to make a prediction of what I genuinely believe is going to happen, I cannot put Terry any higher than 25th. Okay, so there's 2 left. We have Tyler and Waffles. I don't think either of them I'm going to be putting on the poll, so I'm going to have to do some adjusting. We'll talk about Tyler first. Tyler is tied for dead for the most amount of throws, and he's also spread them out pretty evenly. Tyler, at the largest scale of contribution, is doing really, really, really well, except for the fact that people didn't really like his throw, but that's not important. I think the impact meta is gonna roll around, and Tyler might be in a little bit of trouble. I'm gonna go ahead and place him above Robert right now, and we can adjust as needed. Finally, we have Waffles here, who's in the same boat as Jason, Lucas, and Brandon. I think just for that, I'm going to go ahead and throw him at 21st. Okay, so let's do this. Of these 5, I think Chan is most likely to make a deeper push. Probably 4th, if I had to guess. And I guess we can probably just like move 1 up for everyone else. And there's our list. My champion is Random. My prediction for the final is that we have an actually bearable final between Random and Alien. I think everything else looks pretty solid. This is probably going to fall to shit instantly. But who knows? You know how I am. You know how dog shit my takes are. So, yeah, thanks for watching. And, who the hell knows? I'm gonna get out. See y'all.